Today I'm going to be talking about how now in a world where increasingly retailers are becoming global, how not just to match the consumer demands but to be able to exceed it. And really, for those of you who don't know about Metapack, we help retailers maximise on their delivery strategy and their proposition. And we're able to do that because we link retailers and carriers together. We've got one of the largest label libraries in the world, so we're integrated to over 300 carriers globally for retailers, and we provide services then for retailers, carriers, and then the consumers together as all part of the same delivery ecosystem. We've got offices in the UK, France, Germany, and recently now in the US, and we're fortunate enough to have over 80 of the top 100 retailers in the UK. Today I'm going to talk to you about three things. The first thing is about why delivery matters. The second thing is about what makes a great delivery experience. And the third thing is about how you can actually deliver an operational excellence seamlessly. So the first thing I'm going to talk about then is onto why delivery matters. So it should come as really no surprise now for anyone that a positive delivery experience is really a competitive advantage. Equally as well, it should come as no surprise that a negative delivery experience equally impacts in the same way on your brand. And it's really true to say that there are very few products which are truly unique on the web. So if you do have a bad delivery experience, it's often very easy for consumers to go and find that product somewhere else. And really, the main message here is that really consumers want the ability and the freedom to be able to choose the right delivery option for them, because one size doesn't fit all, and consumers now have different lifestyles and different demands, and they want the right delivery experience for them. But for a lot of people, delivery really is just massively inconvenient. And lots of retailers haven't hit that sweet spot about providing that kind of experience which is seamless for the consumer. But the good news is that consumers are also willing to take advantage and be adventurous with new delivery formats and new delivery options. And so you can see now the rise of Sunday delivery over the last year, that really consumers are really willing to try that. But we went out and we asked consumers what they thought of delivery. And I'd like to play you a short video now of what they said about that.
Sometimes to work, sometimes to home, depending on when I expect them to come, how big they are and whether I need to sign for it.
It's my house because it's just easier.
I get my purchases delivered to my home address.
The option to have delivery to a location, like a store near you or an Amazon locker, is handy.
Quicker being delivered is always better because I'm normally ordering something for a party and it doesn't turn up.
My favourite online retailer in terms of delivery would probably be No Look.
Amazon is the company that makes the most effort to deliver.
Top man.
I quite like Amazon.
I love Bowden.
I'm always anxious to leave the house. I don't want to leave unless I've got it, and I will put things off until it comes.
I have sometimes been worried to leave the house. Some delivery companies say, oh, if you're not home, we'll leave it, on your doormat or something like that, and that's a bit worrying.
I don't order anything unless I know I'm going to be around to receive it.
I have been quite anxious to leave when I know delivery's coming on that day, because the postman tends to come when I'm just about to leave.
So you can see there a wide range really of people's different options and people's different desires, and about for different people who's driving the delivery agenda for them. And so when you get it right, it really is a positive message for your brand. So you can see here that delivery becomes really a message and creates brand ambassadors for your business, and retailers can really piggyback off the back of that. And it's a really, a very emotive thing for consumers when they get it right. Equally as well, when they get it wrong, consumers are very quick then to move to social media to talk about the things that have gone wrong. And what's interesting here is that really consumers really relate to the retailer that made the order, not the carrier that made the delivery. And that relationship that you form when you buy something from a retailer is unique to that retailer. And so the consumers, they're not very accepting of problems with the carrier network. They really want to know from the retailer where those problems are trying to be resolved from. And especially now as we move to social media, they want an instant response from all of these channels. So really, there's a choice. You can either have brand ambassadors and advocates, or you can have enemies. And the interesting thing about this is it's a really nice decision point to be made. And what you can see is that when it's right, it's really right. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about, why delivery matters. The second thing I wanted to talk about is putting this into practice and what makes a great delivery experience. And the good news is that it's not all doom and gloom, and there are many retailers out there who are getting it really right. And it really centers on this idea of the four main areas. So there's choice and convenience, predictability and reliability, communication, and speed and cost. And I'm just going to talk through quickly those four examples to you. So you can see here ASOS with choice and convenience. So they've got an amazing delivery proposition. So you can standard, next day, evening next day, nominated day, various options of click and collect, free, fast, and you can see that what they're trying to do is match the delivery proposition to the lifestyle of their consumers. And so they're not saying, okay, we know exactly what's right for you. They're saying we've got lots of options and you choose the right one for you. About choice and convenience. So convenience happens in lots of different ways. I think that there's one, if you had to choose a retail brand that's synonymous with trust, John Lewis would really be up there. And the reason that they can offer this kind of choice and convenience is around their click and collect offering, which is 2 p.m. in any Waitrose or John Lewis store by the next day. And because people trust the brand, they trust that the delivery is going to be there. And John Lewis do an amazing job at getting those items there on time. But because the consumers can trust that brand, then they can start to build their lifestyle and plan their day around that. Because I know categorically that order's going to be there because John Lewis care about me. So that makes it really convenient for me. Now, it's not necessarily that this is the quickest way to get a delivery to you, but it's very convenient, and I'll then have the choice to do it myself. Communication is a massive, massive area. And we've heard a lot about the move today to mobile, being really prevalent, SMS, email, instant messaging. And this is just some examples of how the carriers have looked at that in the market and now are providing these kind of instant messaging to consumers about their delivery. And lots of carriers are moving to this model. But what you can see here is not necessarily the end of where it's all going to be, but you can see now a really interesting trend emerging in communication, which is about in-flight communication. So in-flight changing where I'm going to have my delivery, changing where I'm going to have my re-delivery, and I think the carriers have to be commended about bringing these into the market. So it's not just that you have to make the decision when you make the purchase. Now you've got multiple options, even through the duration of the delivery, to affect how that's going to be delivered. And of course, speed and cost are crucial elements to delivery. Now, it's still really, really true in any metric and any survey that you look at. Consumers still want it free and they still want it fast. But people aren't always willing to pay the premium to have a fast delivery. And AO.com, I think, are a really amazing company at delivery. They've had some excellent press about this. I think any business that are called delivery ninjas is a pretty cool accolade to have. But what they are able to do then is offer a choice again about, do I want it fast or do I want it free? And even their free is still pretty fast, the next day offering. And you can kind of go back to the old saying, we've got 3 kinds of service. You can have it good, cheap, and fast, but you can only choose from 2 of those. And I think that's a really excellent example of how they've really brought that to life. But what's really interesting about what they're doing is that they're using their own network to make those deliveries. So they've decided that the control and the integration and the tightness of that whole experience, it was crucial for them to own that. So I think there's a message then back to the carriers as well about saying if you want to compete and offer a service which is on par to this kind of service, then you really have to look at the level of integration that you've got. So that was the second area about what makes a great delivery experience. And the third area now is about how you can deliver operational excellence. And again, there's 4 main themes about this. The first is about embracing a multi-carrier approach. The second then is about insight into that data once you've done that. What do you do with that data? The third is about reducing technical complexity. So how do you make this work for your business? And the fourth then is about innovating and reacting to market changes. So how do you stay ahead of the game? How do you become a global player? How do you dominate your category? How do you differentiate through delivery? So if we go on to the first area about embracing a multi-carrier approach. Now, classically, purchasing has been, this idea about buying in bulk and, I give a carrier 100% of my volume and I get a discount related to that volume. But when you look at the different profiles that people have of a business, it might be that the first carrier is excellent at delivering small parcels, the second carrier is excellent at delivering medium-sized parcels, and the third carrier is excellent at delivering large parcels. And conversely, then they're not as good at delivering those other areas. And so because that's not their core competence and not their area of speciality, there's 2 main effects. The first one is that you don't get as good quality of service if you don't give it to a carrier who's got that core competency. And the second is that it's often more expensive to make that delivery because the carrier has operational pressures to be able to make that delivery. Now this can be, sometimes quite mundane actually. So if you look at a carrier who specializes in small parcels, their sortation system in the hub might only be catered up to a parcel of a certain size. So if you start to give them large parcels, they then have to manually handle those, there's an increase in cost, and then there's also a decrease in service because that's not being able to go through their automated systems. So you can see that, when you start to apply these models out and looking who's the best carrier to deliver each of the type of profile of my business, it becomes, a matrix of decisions. And that matrix really looks like, if we take size and weight as 2 dimensions here, and each coloured block then represents a different carrier who you would choose then to deliver those types of parcels for you. But, sadly, it's not that simple because there are many factors and many more dimensions to making a decision about how you're going to choose to deliver a parcel. So if we just bring in, for example, the market, then you can see that it starts to become a really 3-dimensional problem that you have to try and solve. And this is, these are only 3 different dimensions that you could look at. It doesn't include product, it doesn't include speed, it doesn't include cost. So you can see that trying to rely on humans to make these really complex decisions in high-pressure operational environments is really just not practical. So that when you embrace a multi-carrier approach and you see the cost savings by doing this, you also need to rely on technology to make sure that this is repeatable and this is a fast-acting decision. The second area to look at then is about insight and about the data that you have. So I've got my matrix in place, I'm doing deliveries with multiple different partners. What insight can I get back out of that data for me? Because it's crucial that you make informed decisions about what's happening in your business about delivery. Now, classically, what happens is the carrier team doesn't grow as fast as the business ambitions grow, so retailers are delivering to more and more countries with more and more partners in more and different types of areas. So you really need to be able to have the data at your fingertips to make those kind of decisions. And it's different data for different people. So I'm not going to get up here and say, there's one right graph that you have to have, there's one killer spreadsheet that you have to have. Different people in your retail business will have different demands on that data. And it's crucial to have that data available for multiple audiences in a really quick and efficient way. The third area then is about reducing technical complexity. So anyone who's working in delivery, in e-commerce, understands that delivery is difficult. Delivery is complex, and there are many, many moving parts. So the last thing that you want to do by doing all of this, embracing a multi-carrier approach, adding this complexity, is add more complexity to your business, add more difficulty. So really the key points are that operationally, there's no impact if you add a new carrier or a new service. So that means that, from my pick, pack and dispatch process, it's exactly the same regardless of which carrier I'm using. Equally as well for my customer service team, I don't want to have to keep going back and training them every time I introduce a new carrier or a new market. So you need to be able to centralize that data in a single track and trace application for them so that they can offer the same level of experience and customer engagement regardless of the delivery partner that's chosen. And the third area around this is about you don't want to penalize your customers. So yes, one week I might be getting a delivery by DPD, the next week I might be getting a delivery by Hermes. But from a customer and consumer point of view, those kind of interaction and messages that I receive from the retailer should be the same. It should be the same tracking data whether I go on my phone or whether I go into my account. And so you shouldn't have to then reteach all of your consumers and your customers about how to then track their parcels just because that you've now got a much more dynamic operation in place. And it's really, it's key to say now that delivery has become something which is elevated much more than just this kind of operational picture. Delivery is really used now as a differentiator. So you can see lots of different marketing promotions about free delivery if you order today, and really using delivery as a mechanism. So you have to ensure that you do all of these things correctly, or that that marketing drive that you're putting in place is really not going to have the same repeat business effect that you're hoping for. The final area then is about innovation and reacting to market changes. In a world where agile methodologies are really commonplace, you have to be able to test and learn from what's right for your customer base. You have to be able to learn and adapt to the market, what's happening. We've seen some amazing innovations being talked about today. And really, there are people now trying to innovate constantly about new delivery methods. And so you have to be able to do business to be able to understand that first. So I'm just going to talk you through a couple of those that have happened recently. So the first one is about partnerships. So the eBay and Argos partnership, where you can have your eBay order collected in Argos, has now seen over 1 million collections in place with that. And what's really interesting is they've taken two businesses and linked them together in what's a mixed retail and a pure online. And so I think that this year we'll start to see increasingly now new partnerships being taken into place, and they will also not be necessarily in the classic models that you would like to see. So I think this is going to be really one area which is going to be massively interesting over the next year. The second then is about new formats, about how you've classically had deliveries. So this is Doddle with their Network Rail tie-up for dedicated click and collect, high quality experiences. And so this is about fast turnover, integrated technologies in places which are convenient for the modern lifestyle. And so this is an amazing innovation in the market, and it would be great to see their rollout. And interestingly, when you look at the kind of numbers of locations, they're going for really key strategic locations versus then about having thousands of locations to service the whole country. So again, much more tailored approach to a tighter demographic about the kind of people that they expect to be using their service. But the market's moving and evolving even beyond this. So 1-1 is a on-demand delivery service. So through an app, you can request 15-minute windows for deliveries, local items from local stores. So it's creating this model of hyper-local deliveries. So I can say, okay, I live in London, and now I'd like some milk, and I can go on the app and I can say, bring me some milk, and it'll be there in 15 minutes for no additional cost to me. And so models like this, which are seen increasingly backing from VCs, and Google have brought out one in San Francisco as well, is starting to really create a new format now for types of deliveries, about hyper-local deliveries. But the innovation doesn't stop there. What happens if this model, if we talk about the school run in the morning, what happens if that mum then had everyone's parcels for delivery, for collection after the school run in her boot? and there was an app that you could then seamlessly have that transaction. Delivery doesn't have to be to a fixed location. Delivery doesn't have to be at a fixed time. Delivery can also then be part of a community structure as well. The same thing can happen then about apartment blocks. So there could be one person who takes deliveries on behalf of everyone in that apartment unit, and then you collect them at the end of the day. And these are not things which are massively in the future. Because if you ask people, would I go to someone's house and stay in someone's house just based on an app? A few years ago you said you're crazy. If you'd said the same thing about going and having dinner in someone's home, you would have said you're crazy. These are now massively successful, multi-billion, highly disruptive businesses. And so things like delivery are also then opportunities for disruptive models to come into place. But perhaps the most disruptive model in place is the likes of Uber and Halo. What happens if how you actually had your parcel delivered wasn't through a carrier, but was through a point-to-point delivery network, and Uber have 300 million empty miles already that they're using? And so you can start to see now that for convenience, for reducing the distance between the product and the consumer, for getting much tighter time windows, there are different models that could be in place which completely flip the normal way that you'd have your delivery. And again, it's not to say that this is going to completely replace all of the ways that you have delivery. This is about saying that there's going to be more choice and more convenience. So in summary, today I've talked to you about three things. The first thing is about why delivery matters, and really about how delivery can create brand advocates for you. The second is that there are retailers out there who are winning about delivery. ASOS, John Lewis, AO.com, and they're really getting it right, and they are pushing the boundaries of what people expect today. And the third thing is that it's actually possible to deliver all of this seamlessly to your business. And it's just about having the right components in place. Because at the end of the day, retailers want happy customers, and delivery is one of the most crucial ways of delivering happy customers. Thank you all.